So first, wonderful to be with you. I'm Aran Sandhouse. I'm the managing partner of J Impact, and I'll be the moderator of this panel. And I'd like to welcome you here to listen to these three esteemed panelists who are experts in their domains. Myself, I'm from the venture capital world. Ben on the other side is also from a VC fund based in LA. And then we have two experts on the innovation side of things, Katerina and Itai. Okay, and in a second we'll do a round of introductions. Fundamentally, really what we want to share with you today, and our intention is to leave with you with something that maybe you didn't know before. Earlier in the day, there were people here talking about the main trends for automotive. Automation, connectivity, electrification, and shared mobility. Those have been around for quite some time. There's a lot happening in those domains. We want to talk about the other stuff. Okay, what's coming from the outside that we may not be thinking about, you may not be wondering, but we get to see that on our radar, and we start to imagine what the world will look like and how it will impact really everything else. So without further ado, I want to first of all introduce the panelists. Okay, maybe Itai, if you can say a few words to introduce yourself.
Yes. Hi, I'm Itai Arel. I'm the CEO of Drive TLV. It's innovation hub here in Tel Aviv. And first of all, I want to thank all of the foreigner people that came here in this difficult time. Thank you, Katerina. Thank you, Ben, and all of you. Everybody tried to stop us, but luckily they didn't succeed. So it's super important for us, the Israeli innovation ecosystem, to bring you here to see and listen to what all the beautiful startups have around here. We have, in our innovation hub, we have more than 57 companies that we help them work with the international corporates. And we have also a small VC that we invest in them, and a POC center that we hope that they will do their first POC or test in Israel to save money and time with big corporates. So we are very, very close to the startups and the corporates, and we see what's going on. We have a very interesting table that we're sitting around together with 14 international corporates like OEM, Tier 1, energy, and so on.
Great, thank you, Itai. Katerina?
Yes, hi everyone, great to be here. Katarina Brood. I lead an innovation hub in Sweden in the automotive, transportation and connectivity industry, working together in an amazing cluster, very dense cluster on the west coast of Sweden where there are large corporate, and we have 7 corporate partners, so we work close with them. And we want to be pioneering the future of mobility by having the corporate partners work closer together with each other, but also connecting them to startups and scale-ups around the world, and we do that. Yeah.
Great, fantastic, Katerina. Okay, Ben?
Hi, everybody. I'm Ben Marcus, co-founder and managing partner at Up Partners. Wonderful to be back in Israel, see so many friends, old and new here. We're very focused on partnering with entrepreneurs who are building enabling technologies for the future of transportation. So we look to partner in ways that bring a lot of value to our entrepreneurs that are creating technologies, advancing air, land, sea, and space transportation, making it cleaner, faster, safer, more economical. We bring a very entrepreneurial approach to that, very community-focused approach. So being sector-focused, we like to drive customers, technology partnerships, go-to-market partnerships, talent, and so forth into our portfolio companies. So pretty active investor. We have 2 portfolio companies already in Israel and looking to do a lot more. So great to be here.
Thank you, Ben. And just to share a bit about the fund I'm running, the fund I created together with 400 other investors globally. Our job is really to make the world a better place. I know everyone says that, we actually mean it. So we invest in people and planet, anything that can really improve the lives of people and planet. And our job by 2030 is to change the life of over 1 million people in a measurable way. The cross-section with mobility is we invest in sustainability. We really want to see the environmental footprint of the entire sector become better. We also invest in health and food and social equity. And the interesting thing really, I think our job as venture capital is to kind of imagine the world and place the right bets on the right teams and to support them and to really nurture them, to success financially. And, Katrina and Itai do the same things, doing the cross-section on a strategic level between the startups and the corporations. So we both get to live, I would say, quite a bit in the future, and then like one leg is planted in the present. And one thing that I will share with you is, we're thinking about new trends. If I roll back to my college years, somewhere in 1990s, I remember that the internet was invented, and we were sitting in the computer farm and sending each other messages on chat. We didn't quite understood what it was. We thought it was a cool way to kind of send chat to people far away. And at the same time, someone called Jeff Bezos decided this is going to be a bookstore. Okay, so there's definitely an advantage to understand when those trends are coming. And today the internet has disrupted everything. If you think about our life, the way we communicate, the way we talk, these are horizontal changes. And things of that magnitude are happening now at a growing pace. We're living in a time of exponential change. One change is building on the other. So it's not the same as it was before, okay, where revolutions happen every maybe 20 or 30 years. It's getting closer and closer. We have the internet and cybersecurity and quantum compute that's coming, and all those things are creating horizontal effects. And really the question now is what's going to be the next thing that we're going to take a look back from, maybe 5 years from now. We say, like we saw this coming, or we thought that this will be the next thing. So we're going to start to have those conversations together with you. What do you see on the horizon, maybe that you're excited about, and maybe no one else is kind of looking at in the last 12 months?
I think it's exciting to see the development of AI now, and at Mobility X Lab we get a lot of startups from all over the world pitching to us, and we haven't seen ChatGPT and that kind of that integration in the innovations yet. In 6 months, I bet we'll do that, and coming that will be even more. So it will change the way how we process data. The foundation for making very complex and quick decisions in critical times. I think that it will completely be different in the future. How machines communicate with other machines, and how we as humans can communicate with machines and connected devices. I think that will be completely different to what we know today.
Thank you, Katerina. And in Silicon Valley, this is a big topic now. In the last few months, everything is around AI. So, just show of hands, how many people here have actually used ChatGPT? Okay, excellent. How many people here understand how it works? Okay, good. Yeah, so maybe in a nutshell, okay, I got to spend about 3 weeks ago with the chief scientist of OpenAI, okay, Ilya Sutskever, and you start to listen to podcasts from Lex Friedman, interviewing Sam Altman. I highly recommend it. At the end, what they're doing really is creating a computer, a brain inside a computer. Okay, that's what this whole industry has been working on for decades and decades. 2017 was the first breakthrough, or a big breakthrough called transformer networks, which really enabled AI to start to have an associative memory in the same way that we start to think as humans. And what we get to see now with ChatGPT is the tip of the iceberg. Okay, so now kids are using it to do their homework, but if you fast forward, really, like now we'll start to imagine what are going to be the implications of that. Okay, and I want to turn that to you. Okay, like how do you see that that's going to start to impact some of the innovation and the programs that we look at?
First of all, the next panel will be by ChatGPT without people. Secondly, we see that the AI you mentioned is super relevant for predictive maintenance. I think it's going to expedite a lot of movement around that, personalization in the infotainment area, also in the car, inside the car, ADAS, outside the car. We see also, if I'm talking about a little bit more trends you mentioned in the next few, hydrogen, super strong now. Definitely will be very, very strong in the next 5 to 10 years, maybe more than the electricity. We see now also a lot of kind of, everything is electric. I just saw a board for the sea, surfing with electric engine, super cool, very expensive. But if you think about Tesla a few years ago, it was super expensive. So now it's much more convenient to change a lot of stuff to the electrified. We see a lot of things around charging the electrified cars, wireless, robots go around to try to charge stuff. So I don't want to take all of the trends, so I will stop here. But this is the three major, the AI, the hydrogen, and the electrified. This is something in the next 3 to 5 years we see very, very strong positioning.
Okay,
maybe just to close the point on GPT, I think that in every field now, GPT is making it much easier to start a company. I mean, we've seen a lot of new technologies over the last decade that makes it easier to start a company. Cloud computing is obviously an example, but I think now with GPT you can find that you don't need to have very low-level software developers to write basic code. You still need really good software architects who can think about a whole system, but these tools are making it much more efficient to develop products and iterate on them rapidly. So whether that's in mobility or any other field, I think companies are going to be able to build better products for less money. And in mobility, transportation generally, I think we're going to see generative designs now coming from this new generative AI stuff. So I think it's going to increase the pace of designing physical products as well, which is quite exciting. I just wanted to jump on one point that you made, Eran, about sort of the seeing broad technology themes applying to mobility. I happen to be a very close watcher and participant in the drone world, as I'm sure many of you are in this room. And you're seeing very, very small, capable drones now. And those are really the peace dividends of the cell phone wars of 20 years ago, right? Where you have very high energy density, small batteries, connectivity, small cameras, all of these things that came from cell phones that have made aircraft tiny and highly capable. And I think we're going to continue to see more trends like that.
Okay, thanks, Ben. Yeah, and I said it, I'm from Silicon Valley. Most people in Silicon Valley no longer call it Silicon Valley. They call it the San Francisco Bay Area. Okay, in the past it used to be like, everyone was proud, but the truth is the semiconductor world has pushed the envelope and continue to push it. And that's how we get to see all these electronics, even OpenAI and what they could do with ChatGPT couldn't have happened. So I want to talk a little bit about AI, and then we're going to switch to the hydrogen and what you discussed as well with aviation. The first piece to understand is, I'm asking myself the question. I have another son, okay, who's just graduated from college, is finished computer science. ChatGPT can now program, okay? I'm asking myself, is he going to have a job in a few years? And the other thing is, I started to hear when you start to talk to people like Sam Altman and what they're talking about, we're talking about the commoditization of intelligence. What is being built right now is you have a supercomputer, a computer that can basically read the entire internet up until about a year ago, and it can understand and can relate to human beings. It has really mastered language, and language is the way that we create. This is how we coordinate, this is how we create vision, this is how we discuss things with each other. And for those who follow, ChatGPT is the fastest product to get adoption in the world ever, in humankind. 100 million users within 2 months. Okay, no other product has ever reached that category. What it really means is that us human beings are teaching it in the same way that it's now starting to teach us. So this is starting to be a co-creation. And when we take a look at the different layers in the ecosystem of mobility, right, we've got companies that make their entire business around data, algorithms, coordination of smart cities. Like, how is that going to happen? Like, how did this ecosystem and the different verticals that we look at, how do we think that that's going to get impacted down the line? And maybe some predictions of what this will look like 5 years from now.
No, but I think it's exciting with the amounts of data now, and to be able to process that data and across different domains, so we can get perhaps new innovations. And when we talk about, driving the future and the future trends, what I hope is seeing is that it be used for the good of the future. Because if we're going to be around, we need a sustainable world. And how can we think new and think disruptive? And when we can collect this huge amount of data from across different domains and face that with different problems, trying to be a bit positive, then we might find mind-blowing things we didn't think about before, and the new connections being made.
One thing I think we're going to see is that technology is going to be way ahead of the regulatory regime for physical things, especially physical things that carry people or that have the potential to impact people's lives. So, I think you're going to start to see more and more use cases for artificial intelligence and autonomy in less life-critical scenarios. So, for example, instead of autonomous cars, we now have autonomous bulldozers. Instead of autonomous aircraft that fly people, you have autonomous drones that are delivering blood and medical supplies and things like that. So I think you're going to start to see more and more of those life-critical use cases, and regulators will take time to figure out how to actually embrace this technology and allow it to come into everyday life.
Yeah, and in general, I think the other question I have for you is, where do you think that AI is not going to go? If we take a look 5 years from now, what areas are not going to be touched by that?
Human sense, common sense.
Yeah, it may have better common sense than we do, but yeah.
Maybe the area of Ben is an expert. Maybe flying, aviation. I think that will be close to human beings. But definitely Houston will have a problem, and I'm pretty much sure that your son will have a problem in the next few years.
I hope not. But yeah, one thing I will say is that when I take a look at the AI, at the end of the day, if you kind of close your eyes a little bit and squint into the future, you can imagine that it's going to be the master of anything digital. Okay, the question is, will it have a hold in the physical world? The world we live in as human beings is actually physical, is analog. We have smell, we have touch, we move physical objects around. Those things are a lot harder, but the intellectual properties, memory, being able to recall, okay, those things over time, I could see them getting, commoditized, or maybe they could become aids, okay, for us as human beings. But the entire physical world, which is a lot of what we look outside, I think that will still be, like somewhat defensible. That's my take. Any thoughts on that?
Well, I do think that artificial intelligence is going to make its way into the physical world, and we already see that, in many ways. But I agree, it's going to be much slower than its influence on the digital world. It just naturally has to be. To go back to the question about what will AI not influence, I've been really struggling with that question. I mean, for the longest time, I thought that humans would always be more creative than computers, and I'm not so sure anymore. And then I thought humans might be able to love better than computers. I'm not so sure of that anymore either. So I don't know. I'm cautiously optimistic about the future, but don't know exactly what it's going to look like.
Yeah, and I just want to reflect, how much will AI take over the physical world, and just looking around and being around in the world today, how we are already trapped and, addicted to our phones and internet.
I don't know what you're talking about.
No, okay, you don't.
Yeah, what I want to, by the way, what I want to leave with you as well in general is just remember this day today that you really thought about AGI. I encourage you to learn as much as possible and to really think about how that's going to impact your business. If you're someone and your job is to find innovation, right, AI is going to have the largest database in the world of all the startups. If you're someone who's creating products or doing research, it's going to have all the research on every single university available, like right this second. Okay, so I don't want to discourage you. I think there's also going to be a lot of stuff that's going to open up. Okay, what does it mean that you have next to you like the most powerful entity ever that you could use? And that's really the questions to start to think. Okay, like 5 years from now, like what can I create that could not be possible today without this?
I think it also can help in expedite, the adoption of new technology. For example, we're talking about mobility here. We know it's a long journey to implement something in the car, and Omer can explain it more. But if the software and the infotainment, everything will be, I think it will expedite the implementation of new product inside of a car, inside of trucks, whatever. And it will be much more easy. Also, the QA will be much more easy. So it will give us more insurance, to implement it. So this maybe it's also something good.
Yeah, maybe we'll see. So Ben, one more question to you. You come from the space of aviation, right? We typically here think about two-dimensional space, right, across this whole around mobility. Could there be a world that we can have an autonomous drone? Could we be transported? I mean, there's a lot of work in that area. How far are we from getting there?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that we think about transportation in terms of, how do you move people and goods in the most efficient way, and doing that on the surface is not always the right way. And I think over time it's going to be increasingly by air. We already see cargo, for example, being delivered by autonomous air vehicles in many places around the world. As you probably have heard, there's a lot of electric vertical takeoff and landing, or eVTOL projects happening all around the world. I think we're probably 3 to 4 years away from the first one of those really being certified and into production. Those will initially be piloted and eventually will be autonomous, and we'll be able to fly people inside of cities. We'll need a whole lot more landing infrastructure before that actually becomes a scaled transportation system. I think the hardest thing to solve there is, where are these things going to land? We have enough trouble finding places to park scooters, right? So That's going to be a major project. But I am very excited about that future. And the other thing I'm really excited about is getting from Los Angeles to Israel a lot faster. It took me 14 hours yesterday, and I do think that hypersonic aircraft will be a reality sometime in my lifetime, and that would cut the trip down to about 45 minutes. So I think that is going to leapfrog supersonic, and very excited about that.
Right, so it sounds like we should start to think about investing in rooftops. That's like the next real estate. Okay, you heard it here first. Okay.
It's also expedite a lot of people will be more, I think in 5 years, more people will be in space. We'll expedite all the space, also ecosystem. It will be much more easy, safe. But this is my personal take, yeah?
Part of the context here is to look at what's happening actually outside of mobility and how it can impact it. We see a lot of investment starting to go into space. When we think about minerals on the planet, we're going to run short of the minerals that we need for electrification. The largest repository is actually on the moon. Okay, so that's another place to start to look, and some people are. And again, I think these are like parting thoughts for us. First of all, I want to thank you for being here and for being with us on a journey into the future. When we take a look moving forward, we have an exciting future with AI. We have hydrogen that is going to play a role, potentially with electrification. And then we have aviation coming, and maybe we won't have to stand in traffic anymore. So, I invite you all to start to envision the future and to play a role in it and start to really think what it means for you. So thank you very much for being with us.